Hello, I'm Professor Rad, and today we're going to talk about the rules for adding signed numbers. Now, these rules are going to be based off of our experiences of adding with number lines, or thinking of signed numbers in terms of money, or thinking of doing battle between different colors or shapes. So, Theorem 1 states, to add signed numbers, you can follow this procedure. If the signs are the same, then you add the amounts and you keep the sign. This is what happened when we either added on a number line or thought in terms of money or drew out the pictures. So what I've done here is I've illustrated -5 and -8 if we're adding them together. The reason you add the amounts is because the values are working in the same direction. So if I take $5 out and then I take $8 out, I've just taken a bunch of money out. So I've taken money in the same direction. Or if I had -5, so I had 5 red circles, plus -8, I added 8 red circles. So they're playing for the same team. So again, I'm going to add the amounts. Or on the number line, if I move -5 to the left, and then I move 8 more to the left, this should be a -13. So if I'm moving in the same direction, I'm moving in the same flow. So you're going to add the amounts because they accumulate in the same direction, and you keep the sign to indicate that they were going in that direction. Now, if the signs are different, things are opposed to each other. So for example, if I have -$5 in my bank account and I deposit 8, one of these is a bad and the other is a good, right? So they're opposed to each other. In the end, I wound up putting more money in than what I had overdrawn, so I end up with a positive. If I'm looking at my teams playing each other, I had 5 negatives, so 5 red circles, versus 8 teal squares. So since there were more teal squares, those are the ones that ended up winning. Or on a number line, if I start at -5 and I move 8 to the right, I'm going to be going past 0 and end up at a +3. So what this means is if the signs are different between the two numbers I'm adding, you're basically going to subtract the two amounts and you end up at whichever one was bigger. So in this case, if I do -5 plus 8, since 8 is the bigger amount, I'm going to end up at a positive, or to the right of 0. So let's go ahead and work through a few examples of using the rules. If they're the same, you add and you keep the sign. If they're different, then you subtract and you take the bigger sign. So first I have to figure out, are the signs the same or different? So here I've got -12 plus 43. The signs are different, so they're playing for different teams. That means we're going to subtract the amounts. Then we want to see who the winner is, or what direction we end up in. So I had $12 that I owed the bank, and I deposited 43. So I deposited more than I owed. So I'm going to end up with a positive amount. Or I had 12 circles and 43 squares. So I had more squares, so I'm going to end up positive. So now that I figured out what to do, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I'm going to subtract the two numbers. Whichever, you ignore the signs, whichever number part is bigger goes first. So we have 43. And then we're going to take 12 away. And we get 31. Our answer is positive, so that's our final answer. Let's go ahead and look at part B. So here we have 12 plus a -43. Let's figure out what operation we do first, and then we'll figure out the sign. So, are they playing for the same team or different teams? Since they're playing for different teams, we're going to subtract. And which team had more members, the positives or the negatives? In this one, the negatives had more members on the team, so our answer is going to be negative. Now that we've got the plan, let's carry it out. So I've got my subtraction. So 43 is the bigger amount. So I end up with 31. And my answer should be negative. So I get a negative 31. All right, let's do a few more examples. All right, so for this example, I have three numbers that I'm going to be adding together. So I'm going to take it one step at a time. Let's deal with the 356 plus the negative 120. Let's do that part first. So, am I moving in the same direction or different directions? So, positive is to the right, negatives to the left. So I'm going in different directions. So that means I'm going to subtract these amounts. Then, which direction did I go further in? So I went 356 miles west and 120 east. So I went further west than I went east, so I'm going to have a positive. I really should have said that this was east, huh? Positive being east and negative west, but I went further east than I went west. So I'm going to have positive. So let's subtract these two amounts. 356 is bigger than 120. Okay, so I get 436, and it's positive. So I'm just going to leave it at 436. So that took care of adding these first two numbers. Now let's add this 18. So when I look at these two numbers, are they both the same type of financial transaction, or are they different? So here I deposited 436, and here I deposited 18. So both of these are deposits. So that means I'm going to add to see how much I deposited total. Since they're both deposits, our answer will be positive. And now we can just add them up. So 436 and 18, I'm going to use the traditional method to add here. So 6 and 8 is 14. Carry that 1. 3, 4, 5. And then bring along the 4. So in the end here, we end up getting a 454. All right, and for our last example, we're going to add some decimals together. So, oh my goodness, I'm sorry if you hear that motorcycle outside, getting a little loud. So here we've got two numbers, and are they on the same team or different teams? So we've got a negative and a negative. So they're playing for the same team. So we're going to add the amounts, and we only have negatives. So we're going to end up with a negative answer. All right, so let's go ahead and add these two up together. So I've got 25.16 and 11.74. I'm adding the amounts together, so I'm not going to worry about the sign until the end. 6 and 4 is 10. Carry the 1. 7, 8, 9. Bring down that decimal point. 5 and 1 is 6. 2 and 1 is 3. So we need a negative answer in the end since we added two negatives. So our final answer will be 36, or negative 36.90. All right, so that's how you can use the rule. If the signs are the same, you add. If they're different, you subtract. And then you either keep the sign if the signs were the same, or you take the bigger number sign if they were different. So here is a bunch of problems here are a bunch of problems that you can try on your own. In the next video, we will move on in the next video, that's right, we're gonna look at some calculators to see how you can add signed numbers on your calculator, just to make sure we're all comfortable with our negative button. So have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time.